Ecosystems are delicately balanced systems where the cycling of matter and flow of energy maintain stability. But what happens when this balance is disrupted? Today we'll explore how disruptions to these processes, such as changes in nutrient cycles or energy flow through trophic levels, can impact the stability of ecosystems. The cycling of matter. Let's start with the cycling of matter, which ensures that essential elements like carbon, nitrogen, and water are reused within ecosystems. These elements move through various reservoirs, including the atmosphere, soil, water, and living organisms in continuous cycles. For example, in the carbon cycle, plants absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during photosynthesis and convert it into glucose. This carbon moves through the food chain as animals eat plants and predators eat those animals. Decomposers like fungi and bacteria break down dead organisms, returning carbon to the soil and atmosphere. Now imagine a disruption to this cycle. Deforestation, for instance, reduces the number of trees available to absorb carbon dioxide, leading to higher levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This can result in climate change, which affects the entire ecosystem, from altering habitats to impacting the species that rely on them. Another critical example is the nitrogen cycle. Fertilizer runoff from agriculture can introduce excess nitrogen into water bodies, causing algal blooms. These blooms block sunlight from reaching underwater plants and deplete oxygen levels as the algae decompose, creating dead zones where aquatic life cannot survive. This disruption cascades through the ecosystem, affecting species at all levels. The flow of energy. Energy flows through ecosystems via trophic levels, starting with producers and moving to consumers and decomposers. The flow begins with the sun, providing energy to plants and other producers through photosynthesis. Primary consumers like herbivores eat the producers, and secondary consumers like carnivores feed on them. At each trophic level, energy is lost as heat. Only about 10% of the energy is passed to the next level. This energy pyramid means that disruptions at any level can have far-reaching effects. For instance, consider what happens if a keystone species, a predator like wolves in a forest, is removed. Without wolves, prey species like deer can overpopulate, overgrazing plants and reducing vegetation. This not only impacts the plants but also the animals that rely on them, such as insects and birds, leading to a chain reaction of instability. Similarly, disruptions at the producer level, such as a drought affecting crops, can limit the energy available to the entire food web. Without enough energy at the base, populations at higher trophic levels like herbivores and carnivores decline, threatening the stability of the ecosystem. Models of disruption. To understand these impacts better, scientists use models to analyze disruptions. Food web models, for example, show the connections between species and help predict how a change in one population might affect others. Imagine a marine ecosystem where overfishing reduces the population of large predatory fish. A food web model might reveal that this leads to an increase in smaller fish, which overconsume plankton. With less plankton available, oxygen production in the ocean decreases, further destabilizing the ecosystem. Energy flow models also help illustrate the consequences of disruptions. For example, in a grassland ecosystem, a wildfire might destroy much of the vegetation. These models can show how the loss of plants affects the energy available to herbivores and subsequently, to predators. Human impact. Human activities are often the source of disruptions to matter cycling and energy flow. Activities like burning fossil fuels, deforestation, overfishing, and pollution can alter the balance of ecosystems. However, humans can also take steps to mitigate these effects. Conservation efforts like reforestation help restore the carbon cycle, while sustainable agriculture reduces fertilizer runoff and protects the nitrogen cycle. Energy conservation and renewable energy sources can reduce disruptions to global energy flow, minimizing the impacts of climate change. The importance of stability. Ecosystem stability depends on the seamless cycling of matter and flow of energy. When these processes are disrupted, the effects ripple through food webs, populations, and habitats, often leading to a loss of biodiversity and ecosystem services. By analyzing these disruptions and understanding their consequences, we can better protect the ecosystems that sustain life on Earth.